Here tonight, Tiff thrashes a load of my favourite cars, including the Scorcio Focus RS. And I'm glamming it up abroad in BM's new Z4 Roadster. But first, Birmingham.
A couple of weeks ago, we showed you next year's crucial new cars at the Paris show. But we're not going to miss out on some serious tyre kicking when we've got our own little motor show, and it's on right now.
And you can start with me and an unashamed bit of flag waving. MG Rover have thrown off their humble shackles and have hit us with both barrels. When you come to the show, you have got to come and be stunned by this, the X-Power SV. This is not just some body kit bolt together, but a 200-mile-an-hour rear-wheel drive V8 coupe. What you see here will cost around £85,000. And if you're still not tempted to trade in the 911 Turbo, then wait for the 965 horsepower nitrous oxide version. In the meantime, listen to this. Over at TVR, they had a launch to shout about too. Literally, because the microphone had packed up.
If TVR ever had accountants in positions...
Just as well that the new car could do all the talking for them. The T350 has a Tamura chassis, a Tamura interior, a Tamura engine and a funky body. The first day it was shown they took a shed full of orders, but there are other British sports cars that may take your fancy.
One not to miss is the return of the name Invicta. Now, that hasn't been on a sports car for 50 years, but it's back here and now with a big, powerful V8 engine in the front. It's very wide, isn't it?
Well, it is, Tiff, but it's also the first car in the world to have a one-piece carbon fibre body shell. Production should start next year. Back to you, Needles.
Ginetta is another fun car. It's a real die-hard enthusiast car, but I can't help feeling them battling against it always, but it's great to see them back as well. But of course, one real success story in the British sports car industry has been the Noble, the M12. It's an inspiration to all that hope to build cars and to make the show a bit more different. They've chopped the roof off one, just to be different. It's nice, looks good. And if you thought you'd seen the last of Marcos, you haven't, because they're here as well.
In fact, the place is full of sports cars. Here's three for the mums. Think trendy, think dinky with the Ford street car. Or perhaps you prefer the turbocharged smart roadster. Or if the retro look is your cup of tea, then jump into the Daihatsu Copen.
Me, I hate soft tops. I recommend mulling over the understated call of the Audi S4. 344 horsepower will frighten an M3, but will it be as fun to drive? Then there's the new Volvo S60R, the most powerful Volvo ever, with an active suspension that adjusts 500 times a second. And don't forget the new all-aluminium Jaguar XJ. Before deciding what you really want is £104,000 worth of Aston Martin DB7 GT. Yes, please.
If you lose the kids, then head for the Subaru stand. They're bound to be discussing headlamps and spoilers in the lee of the nearest Impreza. Or you might just find them drooling over the Alfa 147 GTA, a 3.2-litre V6 and 250 horsepower and sultry looks, and I want one in red. Thanks.
Nope, nothing in there. Every party has its pooper, and this year it's booze and hisses to BMW, who couldn't be bothered to turn up. But if you lot keep buying their cars in droves anyway, why should they spend millions building a temporary stand in an orange-lit cowshed? But it's a shame, because it means you won't get the chance to see the Z4 up close. So, if Mohammed won't come to the mountain, we'll send Vicky to meet Mohammed.
Every litter has a runt, and the Z3 was BMW's. Don't get me wrong, it was a massive sales hit, and the M version was lovely. But the lesser models were positively puny compared to their rivals. They were nothing more than pretty cars for not-so-pretty people, called Tony and Guy. So here I am in some five-star sunshine haven on the edge of the Atlantic with the keys to what promises to be everything the Z3 wasn't, the Z4. BMW say it is an engineering triumph, the B-Road's best buddy, the Boxster beater. What they didn't mention is that it looks nothing like your typical BM. It's a mishmash of every conceivable angle, curve and straight line known to the naked eye. And just now, I'm too flabbergasted to tell you whether I actually like it. But hey, it's sunny, it's 26 degrees, it's October, and I've got 6 hours left to find out whether this is a proper sports car. Looks aren't my top priority. Getting into a Z4 will be more expensive than ever, but it's for the better. On paper, at least, BMW mean business. There are no impotent four-cylinder engines. It'll come with either a 2.5 straight-six that's priced against Audi's TT Roadster and Honda's S2000, or there's this, the 231 bhp 3-litre, which at roughly 31 grand is firmly in Porsche Boxster territory. So, where's your money going? Well, the Z3 was a bit like Cher, a pretty face on an antique chassis. And this Z4 cannot afford to moan and creak like the Rolling Stones. So, it uses a stock current 3 Series as its backbone, with lots of techno wizardry thrown into the mix. And good grief, it's quick. 0 to 62 takes 5.9 seconds, which is half a second quicker than the standard Boxster, and it'll steam on to 155. It sounds really fruity. Oh, but what's even more striking is the ride, considering it is a pretty firm setup and that your derriere is sitting almost over the back axle. It is eerily smooth. As well as the usual ABS, AST, AB, CD, XYZ, BMW have added yet another acronym, DDC, Dynamic Drive Control, which, at the press of a button, beefs up the steering and sharpens the throttle. Now, why they couldn't have put that all as part and parcel of the car to start with, I have no idea. Too many driver aids do my head in. This is a sports car. You are supposed to feel what's going on, not press buttons. That said, it is still quite fun to drive. And the interior's not bad either. Just like the outside, it is very un-BMW. Gone are the retro trademarks and pokiness of the Z3 to be replaced by Teutonic efficiency. Big dials, big stereo, small steering wheel. Opt for the metal finish and it all looks clinically cool. Satellite navigation, sports leather seats and the essential wind deflector are all options. But thankfully, the electric roof comes for free. So this bigger, more expensive Z4 is a world away from the Z3. It's quicker than a Boxster and as well built as an Audi TT. The only disappointment is that with all those driver aids, it's not as much fun for a purist as Honda's S2000. On Britain's wet roads, though, the BM will be less of a handful. But the burning question still remains, do I like the look of it? From my angle, Tony and Guy won't like it because it doesn't conform to the norm, which is precisely why I find it exceptionally appealing.
Right, back to the motor show and the Bentley Continental GT.
Now, saw this big Bentley in the Paris show, and I wasn't sure I liked it, especially that bulbous front end.
I saw it at the UK launch and I hated it, but actually it's growing on me. It can't be like an Aston DB7 or an XK8 because it's not supposed to be slinky because it's a Bentley.
I can't believe you both didn't like it. I mean, this is a Bentley without corners. I mean, normally I don't like Bentleys, but this is a purposeful vehicle. It looks fast.
The lines are a bit confusing from different angles.
It's just big, bulky and chunky and it's yummy. And apparently it's supposed to be a four-seater.
That's never a four-seater.
I don't think so.
So how is it?
Are you still talking about legroom and shoulder room?
It's
Look, it
important.
matters. If they claim it's a four-seater, it should C4.
I agree to. I agree.
Driving position, fantastic.
So 180 miles an hour plus is not enough to interest you. I've got to
getting
have
into
exactly
it.
the right shoulder room.
I'm getting the feel of it.
Did you spend 110 grand on it?
No, I haven't got 110 grand.
You liar.
Quentin, would you spend the money on it?
With a little shade of discount, yes. Yeah, I think it's cool. 180 miles an hour plus, Victoria.
I know.
And its residual value. No
I
question.
predict that for the next 6 months, this car will change hands for 50 grand more than list.
I'll order two then. Better than shares.
We're all agreed. This car is bitchy.
Whatever bitching means, though I think he's probably referring to the twin turbocharged 6-litre that produces more than 500 horsepower.
So, the Porsche Cayenne. Prices will range from £44,000 to £68,000, but we're still not sure about those controversial looks. Go to the show and decide for yourself. Then, check out its sister.
It's made by Volkswagen and it's called the Twin. Oh, it's called that. Anyway, it comes in lots of different types of engines, but two in particular stick out. A W12 petrol and a V10 diesel that's got 750 newton meters of torque. And whilst you're here, check out the Golf R32. It's a super GTI, and it looks pretty cool to me. These are the headline facts. A 3.2-litre V6, 240 brake horsepower and £22,000. Only 700 will be coming to the UK.
Now, the big irony about motor shows is that they're a static celebration of things that are designed to move. Well, the new Mini has put paid to all that. The amazing Russ Swift will be handbrake turning all day, every day, till the show closes on November the 3rd. We couldn't resist joining in the fun.
Go on then, keep up. This is the big finale.
Okay, here we go, everybody. 2 wheels. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, ever so simple, all in the wrist action, you know.
Now, obviously, we've all had special training from my old mate, Russ Swift.
Hello.
You know, the man who taught me how to parallel park.
Russ! I love you, I did it! Now, if you want to win a day with a great man himself...
Hello.
...and learn the tricks of the trade just like I did, all you have to do is answer this simple question. Which part of Russ Swift's car is vital to his parallel parking stunt? Is it the windscreen wipers, the handbrake, or the spare wheel? Call this number to enter, and don't worry, we'll show it again at the end of the programme. Lines close on Wednesday, the 6th of November, and you can also enter on our website.
That's it from Birmingham. Join us in part 2 when I'll be let loose in that, the Focus RS.
Car insurance from More Than, sponsors of Fifth Gear.
In case you hadn't noticed, hot hatch is a big business once again. No self-respecting car maker can do without one in their model lineup, and not a month seems to go by without yet another, even hotter one, sending motoring journalists into a frenzy. So we brought our favourite six-pack here to Anglesey to see what's currently hottest of the hot. MG Rover have maxed out the 25 to make it the ZR. BMW's Mini Cooper now comes with an S that makes it supercharged. And in response, Renault have shed the kilos and the price with this stripped-out Clio Cup. But it's this 197 horsepower Honda Civic Type R that holds the hot hatch crown. Now, though, two big heavyweights have arrived, offering over 200 horsepower. The Seat Leon Cupra R and the hot hatch everyone is talking about, the Ford Focus RS. So what's our verdict? Well, I am a big fan of everything MG are trying to do to put some life into old Rovers. But whilst this ZR has much improved looks and handling, it is the least powerful of our bunch. I'm sorry, but the interior is, well, awful. Good, but could do better. The same, though, can't be said about BMW's Mini Cooper S with its fantastic retro looks, both on the inside and the outside, and a heritage to match, meaning it's sure to sell and sell and sell. But like the MG, it lacks serious grunt. I'm sorry, but that whining supercharger is not for me. Renault's Clio Cup 172, on the other hand, seems like the perfect mix. It's very light, it looks mean, and it's the cheapest car here, a bargain at just under 13 grand. But cutting costs and weight by throwing out such modern-day essentials as ABS and aircon hardly seems like progress to me. Which is why Honda's Civic Type R has ruled the roost for the past year or so. It's still quicker to 60 than the Clio, despite the Renault's crash diet. It's a full-on racer with a lightning gear change and all the joys of Honda's fabled VTEC power plant allied to edgy adrenaline-pumping handling. This is what the new boys on the block have got to beat. So let's remind ourselves just how good it is. So just wait till the rev counter goes past 6,000 and then let it sing all the way to its 8,200 RPM limit. This is what I call mechanical music, none of those twittering turbos or whining superchargers. This is a real engine. And the driving position is also so good. I sit low in a very supportive seat. I've got the steering and the pedals right where I want them. I've also got this sexy little gear lever right beside me. And the handling, the car feels so light, I can turn, just a little bit of oversteer is easily caught. It feels much lighter and nimbler than any of the opposition that I've driven so far. One word of warning though, in the wet, that mild oversteer can become a bit of a snap. Another criticism is also the traction's not that good in the wet, but it's dry today. The Civic sets a target lap time of 54.9 seconds around the challenging Anglesey circuit. So, to take on the Honda, Seat have squeezed 210 horsepower under the Leon's svelte Spanish uniform. Sounds good to me. And the first thing you notice is just how smooth the power delivery is of this turbocharged engine. No sudden boost at all, just constant pressure. There is a lot more understeer, a lot more roll. It's generally a much softer car than the Civic, which is why on the road it's actually a more pleasurable car to drive because it's got a better ride. Around this racetrack, I'm having a lot of fun, but I don't think I'm going very quickly. Impressive, but not really hot. A fact underlined by lap time 1.1 seconds slower than the Hondas. So what about Ford? Well, they knew how good the Civic was and how powerful the Seat was going to be, so they turned to their rally team for inspiration. And like their world rally car, it's full of parts from specialists like Quaife, Garrett, AP, Sachs, Brembo and Sparco. All top-shelf automotive pornography for the die-hard enthusiasts. It's not such good news on the inside, though. In keeping with the tradition of previous fast Fords, the interior is very Essex. You've got blue dials, blue trim, blue seats, a part blue steering wheel and a green starter button. But I'm not here to spend my time worrying about fashion. I'm here to feel just how good this RS is on a racetrack. It doesn't start that well because I'm sitting a bit high and these snazzy seats don't exactly hold me as well as I'd like them to. But I'm immediately impressed by the power of this turbocharged engine. First gear for the hairpin and straight away it tucks into that tight apex, good traction. this racing differential that they've developed for this car. Grabs hold of the tarmac and launches this Focus forward. Turning I was hoping for. But all in all, it feels very sure-footed, but a bit heavier than the Civic. It's not quite so nimble. The adjustment to oversteer doesn't happen the instant you turn into the corner. But it has got some grunt, and it's got very good traction. Between the two of them, that should be enough to see off the Civic. And it is by just 0.3 of a second. But you have to pay the price away from the track. You see, on public roads, it's not quite so convincing. That race-bred limited slip differential that provides such sharpness and traction on the circuit becomes its own worst enemy. As the boost pressure chimes in and out, the steering weight constantly varies, and any little hollows or odd cambers will pull the nose of the car this way or the other without really giving much warning. It becomes a nervous drive on country roads. The ride is also very, very harsh and the damping quite severe. This is a car really only for hardcore enthusiasts. So before you rush down to your local Ford dealership to try to put your name down for one of the 4,500 RSs to be built, I suggest you consider its on-road manners, its garish interior, and the fact that you only get a fiver's change out of £20,000. Oh, and yes, that there's a 240 horsepower Volkswagen Golf due any day now. Right now, though, there's no doubt the Focus RS is the hottest of the hot on the track. But the Seat is a much smoother and better-mannered road car. And, for me, the best compromise between the two, and still the overall king of the hot hatches, is the Honda Civic Type R.
On next week's Fifth Gear, I have one of the best days ever when I do my first rally. Plus, Britain, know your cameras, Fifth Gear's truly indispensable guide. And if you fancy a spin with parking guru Russ Swift, then here's that number to call.
And for all the latest news, competitions and all about the Fifth Gear presenters too, check out the website at 5.tv/fifthgear. And keep it here next for tonight's movie. Clint Eastwood shares top billing with an orangutan in Every Which Way But Loose, and that's in just a moment on 5.